Children, hello. Today's First Pages Fridays comes from Yang the Youngest and His Terrible Ear. This was written by Lindsay Namioka. And this book is good for those of us who really struggle to do something that we're not good at and are told that we're just not trying hard enough. That's what happens with Yang here. Watch. Yang the eldest drew his bow across his violin strings, and a shower of sparkling notes fell over the room. Yang, the second eldest, drew her bow across her viola strings, and a rainbow of notes hung brightly in the air. Yang, the third eldest, drew her bow across her cello strings, and a wave of deep, mellow notes washed over us. Yang, the youngest, that's me, drew my bow across my violin strings, and it went screech. I'm the youngest child in our Yang family of 4 children. According to our Chinese custom, I'm not allowed to call my elder brother and my 2 sisters by their given names. Instead, I have to address them as eldest brother, second sister, and third sister. They call me 4th brother. My parents are both musicians. Father was a violinist in the Shanghai Philharmonic Orchestra until a few months ago when we left China and came to live in America. Now he has a job with the Seattle Symphony Orchestra. Mother is a pianist. She used to accompany Father when he gave concerts, but she hasn't been able to find a job since coming to America. Orchestras can use many violinists, but they don't need more than 1 pianist. So these days, Mother spends most of her time shopping and cooking to feed all of us. It isn't easy to feed a family of 6 on Father's salary. He's what's called an alternate, which means he gets to play only when one of the other violinists is absent. Father also makes some money giving private lessons. At first, he didn't get many students. Parents didn't want to take their children to a music teacher who spoke so little English and had such a strong Chinese accent. But music is music in any language, and Father doesn't have to say much during the lessons. When one of his students plays well, he smiles. And when a student plays a sour note, Father just puts on a look of great suffering. I know that look. When Father gives me my music lesson, it never leaves his face. I started playing the violin when I was 5, and now, 4 years later, Father's expression is still the same. I don't exactly enjoy the lessons either, but I don't suffer as much as he does. That's because I can't hear what I'm doing wrong. In fact, that's my problem. I have a terrible ear. My parents didn't believe that could happen to one of their children. They both had good ears, and so did eldest brother, second sister, and third sister. Eldest brother was humming tunes even before he could talk. Mother taught him both Chinese and American songs. Soon he was singing, "Old MacDonald had a farm," right on pitch, even the oink oink and quack quack parts. On eldest brother's 4th birthday, my parents gave him a violin that was 1/8 the size of a regular one. He's 15 now, and he has been right on pitch ever since. Second sister, 2 years younger than eldest brother, started singing along during his violin lessons, so she got a viola, 1/8 size. Third sister, who was 3 years younger than second sister, started by playing the viola that had become too small for second sister. But she was so short that she had to stand up and hold the instrument on its end like a cello. She got a real cello as soon as she was tall enough. When I was born, my parents were pleased because now they could have a complete string quartet, 2 violins, a viola, and a cello. They never imagined that the second violin would turn out to be so bad. But I knew. I began to suspect something was wrong because whenever I started singing, people would move away from me. I loved songs. At least I loved the words. In China, we often sang American songs, and the most popular one was "Oh, Susanna." But my favorite song was the one about the farmer and his animals, which eldest brother had taught me. 4th brother is singing "Old MacDonald Had a Farm," third sister announced proudly one day. "No, he's not," said Father. "The tune he's singing is quite different." "Well, at least he's doing the oinks and the quacks," she said. Third sister has always been closest to me. It's not just that we're only close in age. She's only a year older than I am. But when everyone else thought I wasn't really trying hard enough to play in tune, she was the only one who knew that I was doing the best I could. The trouble is that except for the oinks and the quacks, Old MacDonald had a farm. Sounds to me a lot like Mary had a little lamb. I am what they call tone deaf. You'd think that being Chinese and tone deaf would be a real problem because the Chinese language is full of tones. If you make the same sound but with different tones, you change the meaning completely. Luckily, things aren't that bad for me because the tones in Chinese slide up and down, and I can hear the difference between a sound sliding up and a sound sliding down. My problem is that I don't know how much to slide up or down. This is not good when you have to play the violin. At least I didn't have to worry about rhythm. Having a terrible ear means I have a problem with pitch, but I can count as well as any of the Yangs, and I always come in on time. The others probably wished I wouldn't come in on time. Sometimes I suspect they would prefer I didn't come in at all. So there I was, coming in on time, sliding up and down, doing the best I could, and as usual, my best wasn't good enough. Eldest brother rolled his eyes. You have to listen, fourth brother. Before you play, sing the song's notes in your head first, ordered second sister. That's easy for her to say. I couldn't even sing the notes in my throat. Maybe he's a mutant, said third sister. A mutant? Asked second sister. Don't you mean a mute? He certainly needs an extra-sized mute. A mute is a little button-like thing you put on your violin when you want to sound softer. Second sister had once suggested permanent mutes on my violin. Third sister giggled. She's the giggler of our family because she knows her dimples are cute. We all have our own ways of learning English, and third sister's is to make a list of 5 new words every day and memorize them. Mutant was on her list today. Mutant means you turn out really different from your parents, she explained. Fourth brother isn't lazy. He was just born different. There's nothing he can do about it. Nonsense, said second sister. She was 13 and a young lady. Young ladies didn't giggle and didn't put up with nonsense. Let's stop talking and get back to practice, said eldest brother, the eldest of the family. He was more serious than the rest of us. Whenever we started to waste time, he quickly got us back to work. We immediately picked up our instruments again. We weren't scared of eldest brother. Not very much, anyway, but we knew we had to practice. A very important recital was being planned. For father's sake, for the sake of the Yang family, we had to make a good impression. At a recital, all the students play a piece of music, and their families and friends are invited to hear them. This was the first recital father had organized since he had started giving music lessons here in Seattle. If his students did well, their parents would tell other parents, and father would get a lot more students. At the end, announced father, the 4 of you will be playing a portion from a string quartet. It will be the grand finale of the whole recital. We all knew the last piece on the program was the most important one. That was the one the audience would remember best when they went home. If we could impress the audience with our skill, we would really show them what a great teacher father was. Normally, I didn't suffer much during my lessons. I just ran through the piece as fast as I could, and if other people suffered, too bad for them. But this recital worried me. When they heard me playing so badly, the parents in the audience would say to themselves, if Mr. Yang can't even teach his own son to play, how can he teach our children? Now, as we practiced, I found myself sweating with nervousness. My hand felt unsteady, and I couldn't get a grip on the violin bow. It slid around on the string and produced one of those terrible screeches. This got on everybody's nerves. Even eldest brother finally lost his patience. It's bad enough that you play out of tune. Do you have to keep screeching too? I'm sorry, I mumbled. I wiped my hands on my pants, then wiped my brow, which was streaming. This made my hands wet again, and I had to borrow third sister's handkerchief. Eldest brother sighed deeply and put his violin under his chin. Let's try those last 4 bars again. Second sister picked up her bow, and third sister bent over her cello. One by one, the other 3 Yangs started playing their sparkling notes. Then when my entrance came, I pressed harder, keeping my bow hand from wobbling, but all I got was an extra loud screech. A look of deep suffering came over eldest brother's face. At times like these, he looks a lot like father. He has the same long face and the same wide mouth that curves down in the corners when he's in pain. Fourth brother, he said, fixing me with his sternest look. I know that music doesn't mean as much to you as it does to the rest of us, but you really have to try harder. You know the saying that hard work can overcome 10,000 problems. He just doesn't care about playing in tune, said second sister. I don't think there's any use practicing until his attitude is better. She put her instrument back in its case, firmly closed the lid, and snapped the catch. I tried not to show it, but I was hurt. I admired eldest brother and second sister deeply for being so dedicated to music, even if I couldn't share their dedication. It must be wonderful to know exactly what you wanted to do. I didn't know what I wanted to do. All I knew was that I didn't want to be the miserable second violin. After eldest brother and second sister had left, third sister came over and put her arms around me. Don't feel so bad, she said softly. I know you're doing your best. Her kindness only made me feel like crying. I'll spoil everything. I'll ruin the recital. Maybe we can think of something, she said. Maybe we can fix it so that eldest brother plays most of your notes.